Hello, dear students, and welcome to the second part of the first chapter, The Birth of Modern India, of Class 8's History. As in the previous part, we have learned about the process of colonization, and we are knowing that the colonization signifies to the subjugation of a country by a more powerful country. Colonization brings some changes to the weaker country, that is, the country change politically, economically, culturally, and in many other ways. So, here in this part, we will see the colonization of India that was caused by the Britishers, and we will look upon the major changes that were the result of the colonization of India by the Britishers. So, here we will see major changes, geographical changes, political changes, economic changes, cultural changes, and social changes. So, let's start. Colonization of India. We have learned that colonization is the process of subjugating, that means overpowering a country, overpowering a weak country and exploiting its resources. Now, here we will see that how the process of colonization started in India. Students, first we will look upon the initial stage of the Britishers in India. We can say this as initial struggle of EEIC. Now, what is EEIC? The full form of EEIC is English East India Company. English East India Company was an English company, we can say that was a British company formed for the exploitation of trade with East and Southeast Asia and India. This company was founded in England only, and the motto of this company was to expand its trades to Southeast Asia, East Asia, and to India also. As we have learned that the motto of the Industrial Revolution was the expansion of the industries and expansion of the to distant lands. So that only for promoting their domestic industries or for gaining more and more profits, now the Britishers started moving towards different lands. They came to India also. The company, the English East India Company, was founded on 31st December in 1600 in London. So it is written here in 1600 EEIC was founded by the group of traders in London. Now we will see that the Queen of Britain at the time, Queen Elizabeth, provided a royal charter. He issued a royal charter, that means a royal farman, a royal permission to the English East India Company. That charter allowed the English East India Company as a monopolistic trading company, means a trading company that has only the power to trade to East India. That means when this company was formed in England, many other trading companies were also there. So Queen Elizabeth provided it monopoly to trade in India or to trade in East areas. Now, in 1608, first time the first voyage of Britishers came to India. In 1608, Captain William Hawkins, a representative of English East India Company, came to the court of Mughal ruler Jahangir. In 1608 only, Captain William Hawkins came with some crew members. They came with the sea route. Captain William Hawkins came to the court of Jahangir. Now, why he came to the court of Jahangir? For asking for some concessions in the trade. He came India for asking or for getting the rights to trade in India. His crew sailed to the port of Surat in 1608, and in 1608 he reached to the port of Surat. He got some trade concessions from Jahangir. Now Jahangir allowed Captain William Hawkins to trade in India. In 1613, the trading port or factory was established by English traders in Surat, and after Jahangir allowed Britishers for the trade concessions, the first factory was established in Surat. Now, what was the meaning of the factory at that time? Like nowadays, factory is a place where the manufacturing of goods take place. But earlier, means during the British period, factory is a place where Britishers stock their goods that we brought from their country. They brought goods from their country, and factories were the places like godowns where they store their goods and where the officials of the factory also resides. In 1613, so first trading post of Britishers was established in Surat. Now again in 1615, Sir Thomas Roy was an ambassador of King James I. Ambassador means a messenger. In 1650, a Thomas Roy also came to India. He was the ambassador of King James I of England. He also came to the court of Jahangir. Now he came for some more concessions for the trading rights in India. Though initially Jahangir resisted. In the starting, Jahangir resisted that he was not ready to provide more concession rights to Britishers. Later on, he granted royal farman, that is permission to trade to the English. Because Britishers wanted to expand in India, Jahangir only allowed them to establish their port in Surat. Now, Thomas Roy also came to ask for the expansion of the trading company, that they can trade in different, they wanted to trade in more different parts of India. Initially Jahangir resisted, but afterwards he allowed him. So they established their factories. Now what they started, now the Britishers started expanding themselves, and they established their factories in Agra, Broach, Ahmedabad, Masulipatam, and other parts of the Indian subcontinent. So like this was the initial stage of EEIC. When EEIC came to India, so first of all we have to remind that English East India Company was founded on 31st December 1600. Its headquarters is in London. In 1608, first voyage came with the Captain William Hawkins, who was the representative of English East India Company. He came to the court of Jahangir. In 1613, in 1608, he got some rights concessions for trading in India. In 1613, the trading port or factory was established by English traders in Surat. First factory was established in 1613 at Surat. Now in 1615 again one ambassador came, and he got some more rights. He got the rights to expand the trade in India, and he got that permission also. So Britishers started expanding their factories, and they established some factories in Agra, Broach, Ahmedabad, Masulipatam, Bengal, Calcutta, and many more are there. Now, from traders to political leaders, we have seen the period from 1707 till 1757 was the period when Britishers were struggling in India. The East India Company was mere a trading company. From traders to political leaders, now that English East India Company became political leaders in India. In 1757, after the Battle of Plassey, please remember the name of the battle. This was only the battle that changed the Indian fate. We will learn about this battle later. The EEIC became the dominant political power in the Indian subcontinent. After this battle only, Britishers started controlling us politically also. Gradually, most of the Indian subcontinent became the part of British colony, and slowly they were able to conquer our most of the part. Thus, the company that came to India as a trading organization in starting in 1608, the EEIC, the English East India Company, came as a trading organization, but slowly they became the master of the Indian subcontinent. India became a colony of the British rule. India became a colony of the Britishers, and they ruled in India till 1947. Now we will see what were the major changes that were caused by the Britishers. So first of all, by the subjugation of the Britishers over India. So first of all, we will see geographical changes. How the geography of India changes. So as all of us are knowing that when British East India Company or English East India Company came to India for the trading purpose, at that time India was divided into several number of kingdoms and provinces. Since the Mughal Empire was declining and many independent kingdoms were ruling at that time. Look, here it is written, when Britishers came to Indian subcontinent, it was divided into several number of kingdoms and provinces. Large provinces like Hyderabad, Bengal, Awadh, accepted the nominal rule of the decaying Mughals, that we have learned that they were under the Mughals only. There were also some independent kingdoms such as the kingdoms of Marathas, Rajputs and the Jats. We have learned about the Vatan Jagirs, and some independent kingdoms also. I have explained you this in the revision part of class 7. After the Battle of Plassey in 1757, the British came to establish their direct rule over large part of India. After the Battle of 1757, Britishers started ruling us directly. They maintained their strong indirect rule over all other local kingdoms, which came to be known as princely state. Slowly, they started covering, yeah, conquering all other states also. So, at the time of independence, when India was going to be independent, at that time the condition of India is like that, that there were 565 princely states. Means these were the states those who were ready to rule under the Britishers. The rulers were ruling according to the Britishers, and the directly administered territories of India, so of Britain. That means there were some kingdoms those who were not ready to accept the policies of the Britishers. That is why Britishers conquered them directly, and they were ruling directly on some of the territories. So this was the condition. How geographically we change, like when they came, India was subdivided. India was totally divided into number of kingdoms and provinces. Slowly they started conquering India and controlling the parts. You can see in the map, the pink part is the princely states. So here princely states were ruling, matlab the states that accepted the supremacy of the Britishers. In yellow part there is British India, the India that is conquered by the Britishers. So mostly more than half of the, we can say that 75% India was under the Britishers. Now, we will see that how Britishers changed us politically. What were the political changes that came into India after the subjugation by the Britishers? The British rule in India was first established under the English East India Company. Students, earlier when English East India Company came to India, at that time that company was only ruling India. There was no government, or British government was not interfering in it. Only that company was ruling us. So from the period of 1757 till 1857, that was the period when English East India Company ruled us. Later, in 1857, when the first war of independence took place, that is also known as the Revolution of 1857. It was the time, or it was an event when some Indian sepoys revolted against the Britishers. That we will learn. Some Indian sepoys revolted against the Britishers. Though Britishers were successfully able to suppress us, they were successfully able to suppress us in that revolt, but after the revolution of the 1857, Britishers understood that these Indians can revolt against us. To prevent these kind of revolts in the future, now the power was shifted to the British Crown, or the British government, from the English East India Company. So earlier when Britishers came to India, at that time India was under the English East India Company from 1707, you can say, or you can say from 1757 till 1857, Indian subcontinent was under the English East India Company. After the revolt of 1857, they just, the power shifted to the British Crown. British Crown means the Queen, the government of British Empire, and they started directly controlling over India. The Britishers changed or modified the form of administration in India by establishing administrative, legal, military, political structures. Now, as the Indian subcontinent came under the rule of the British Crown, or the British government, they started modifying the administration of, or they started the modifying the political system of India according to the British system. They changed the administrative system, They introduced legal formalities, they modified the military system, and they organized the political structure also. That we will see in later chapters how they do all these changes. The period of British rule also saw the emergence of a coherent and organized opposition to British rule by people across the Indian subcontinent. The revolt of 1857 was the cause of the oppression, means opposition of the Indian people towards Britishers. Since Britishers were exploiting them, they forced us to do whatever they want to do from us. So that only the revolt of 1857 was the cause of the opposition of Indians towards Britishers. So this was the period when we saw some organized opposition also by the Indian people for the Britishers. The opposition of the Indian people was firstly started by the weaker section, since the exploitation was started from the weaker section only. That is why the people who belong to the weaker section, like the peasants, the artisans, the craftsmen, zamindars, sepoys, and tribal people, they were only forced by the Britishers. So that is only they only started revolting against the Britishers first. Slowly, this became the matter of the entire Indian subcontinent, and people from different section, means the literate one also, the lawyers, the teachers, the professors, they also started participating in the movement or in the opposition for the Britishers. So at last it became a mass movement. It became a movement of the whole Indians. So what is the political changes? So this much is important. Then when English East India Company came to India, so earlier till 1857, yeah, before 1857, English East India Company have direct control over the Indian subcontinent. But after the revolt of 1857, the British Crown or the British government took direct control over India. Now we will see economic changes. We will see the economic changes in different fields. First, we will see the economic change in the field of agriculture, then, we will see in the field of trade, and then we will see in the field of industries. So, let's start from the field of agriculture. Now, what is economic changes? All of us are knowing that for controlling or for governing every country or every place, there is need of money or finance. So that is only since Britishers were ruling on us, for ruling us, it was necessary that their finance should also be strong. So the as from the medieval part only we are seeing that the main source of the income of the kingdom was the land revenue. Here also for the Britishers also, the main source of the income for Britishers in India was the amount collected by the land revenue. For them also, land revenue was only the source of income in starting. Now, what they firstly did, they changed the land revenue system in India for collecting more and more revenue. They modify the our land revenue system. Every ruler used to modify it. In medieval period, we have seen that every ruler have different type of land revenue system. The Britishers also did the same. Britishers modified the land revenue system. We will see that they introduced many type of land revenue system like Mehelwadi, and more Ryotwari, more we will see in later. Permanent settlement, Ryotwari, Mehelwadi, we will see in later chapters. They followed different revenue system in different parts of Indian subcontinent. One more thing they did, they do not follow same type of revenue system in whole Indian subcontinent. They followed different types of revenue systems in different part of the subcontinent. As we I'm telling you, they started doing the survey of the fields, they started doing survey of the land, and by the survey they came to know that which land is more fertile, which land is less fertile, where they can produce more. So on the basis of that only, the British government appointed some officials, those who move around and survey the countryside to check the land and then decide the revenue. So firstly they check the land, that which land can produce more, which land can produce less, from which land they can collect which type of revenue. So on the basis of that only they decided the land revenue. They fixed the land revenue at very high rates. The land revenue system of the Britishers was very difficult. It was difficult for the peasants or for the farmers to pay it. Firstly, their rate of interest is very high, and secondly, in any condition, they have to pay the revenue. They have to pay the revenue in any condition, like in condition of famines also, in the period of flood or drought also, they have to pay the revenues. In case if the farmers or the peasants were not able to pay the revenue, they have to give their lands to the Britishers, and the farmers or the peasants were forced to work as a laborers on their own field. This led to extreme hardship. Now, the land revenue system which they modified, now our farmers or the peasants started suffering frequent famines, peasant migration. Now, the people or the farmers whose land was taken by the Britishers, they started migrating from there for the other type of works for their livelihood, and rebellion among the Indian subcontinent. We will see many rebel was caused by the peasants or the farmers only in opposition to the Britishers. So here we can see that how they changed the agricultural system. First of all, that they also depend, yeah, their main source of income was the land revenue only. So they changed the land revenue system. They posed taxes, yeah, they posed the land revenue according to the land. Their British officials surveyed the lands and check out which how much tax they can take on which land. On the basis of that only, they decided the land revenue, and the rate of the land revenue was very high. It caused extreme suffering in the peasants or the farmers, frequent famines, peasant migration, and the peasants. And finally, the peasants or the farmers started rebelling, started opposing to the Britishers. Now, next we will see in the field of trade. Now, what happened in the field of trade? Under the British rule, the pre existing patterns of trade in India also underwent many changes. The trade system in India also changed. In starting, when Britishers came to India in the starting, what they used to do, they bought spices, cotton, and silk, means they bought items from India and they sold them in England. Means they purchased goods from us and they sold them in England. Now, for purchasing the goods, what they used to give us? They used to give us gold and silver in return of those products. Now, what happened later? They started forcing the Indian subcontinent for cultivating cash crops. Now, one more thing we have seen, that as the industrial revolution started in Europe, or as the industrial revolution started and it is spread throughout the world, what happened? The domestic industries of these countries were in great demand, or were in great demand of the supply of raw materials. Now, Britishers decided that they will fulfill the demand of their raw materials, or the supply of their raw materials from us, from countries like India. So, for that only, they started forcing our farmers to grow cash crops like opium, indigo. They started forcing us to grow all these crops so that they can fulfill the supply of the raw materials needed by their domestic industries. When India became a full fledged colony, when they were able to control us properly, when they make us their colony, she exported raw materials like jute, cotton to England, which fed British factories. Now, as they started forcing our Indian farmers to grow cash crops, now they started exporting. Now, India became a center of raw materials, that export raw materials at cheaper prices. They used to brought those raw materials from us at cheaper prices, and they sent, yeah, they fed these raw materials, fed the British companies, yeah, British factories. Now, what happened after that? Now, the British factories, the domestic British factories, used to produce the goods, and The finished goods were then sold back to India at much higher prices. Now they prepare the goods in their own country. They, first of all, see, they purchase the raw materials from us at cheaper prices. Then they take the goods or the raw materials to their domestic factories. They manufacture the goods from the raw materials, and they again take back the manufactured goods to India for selling them in India at higher prices. That means they were purchasing as the raw material at lower prices, but they were selling their goods to India at higher prices. That they were exploiting us. These finished goods were then sold back to India at much higher prices. Overall, they exploited the Indian trade, and slowly, the trade became unfavorable for the country. And slowly, the Indians, that means the trade of India became unfavorable for the people of the country. Now we will see what happened in the field of industries. Due to the Industrial Revolution, the Britishers adopted the new technologies and mechanical devices for manufacturing their goods. There is what happened after the Industrial Revolution. The British companies or the British factories started producing goods in new manner. They started using new technologies or machineries for manufacturing their products. What happened after that? Once they started manufacturing goods or the products from machineries, it improved the quality of the products as well as the quantity of the products also. Quantity means if we are producing something manually, it will take time, but if we are using machine, ultimately it will take less time and we can produce more with the help of machines. So that only happened, it improved the quality as well as the quantity of the goods also. On the other hand, in India, the industries were still working on the traditional basis. On the other hand, India was not aware about the industrial revolution, and here the machines were or the industries were working in traditional basis. The workers worked manually, manually means with their hands only, for producing goods. So they were not able to produce in large quantity. So they were not able to produce in large quantity. This causes the destruction of traditional Indian industries. Due to this only, the traditional industries of India started collapsing, such as the weaving industry, the pottery, the iron smelting, or the brass work. Because now these work started by the machineries, that is why the Indian traditional company factories, those who were industries, those who were doing this work with hands, stopped or collapsed. The phenomena of the destruction of the traditional industries came to be known as deindustrialization. The collapsing of the industries or the traditional industry of India. This process is only known as deindustrialization of India, that means collapsing of industries. And as the collapse of industries started, as the Indian industries started collapsing, people those who were working in those industries started moving towards the villages from the cities. Now one more thing started in India, that was deurbanization. The means of deurbanization means the people started moving from the city areas to the village areas. Due to the fall of the traditional industries, the Indian workers became jobless and started moving towards the villages from the cities. So this was the effect on the industries. Now we will see the cultural changes. So this we are already knowing, we have learned during the medieval period also, that when many people or many group of people started coming from different parts of the world, they bring new ideas, new culture with them. What happened as they started settling in India, started living in India, we started inculcating their qualities or their culture in our culture. Ultimately, the culture of the different countries and our countries started intermingling. We are already knowing that whenever people belonging from different lands came to India, they bring their culture also with them. Like during the medieval period, we have seen how new sets of people bring in their cultural practices which interact with the existing cultural practices of the Indian subcontinent. Like many things we have learned from the During the medieval period, from the people who came from different lands, that we learned Urdu language, we learned Arabic, Farsi. These were the languages that came during the medieval period. Many form of singing also started, like kavalis or many other thing. New musical instrument also started, new food items also came to India. Like that only, when Britishers also came to India na, they also changed our culture. This intermingling modified our culture into a totally new culture. This only happens during the modern period also. The Britishers came with the new cultural practices and modified our culture. They also bring new cultural practices and they modified our culture. Like in the in the colonial period or in the modern period also, many things will be changed. We can see the change in art also, in the form of painting also, in the construction of monuments also. We can see new languages like English introduced during this time. We can see the changes in the field of literature also. In fact, the way the Indian dressed, that also have changed. We are knowing that the traditional dress of Indians is sari or dhoti kurta, but no one is wearing those type of dresses nowadays. We are totally changed. We adopted the foreign culture or the culture of different countries. So this is not a day change that can happen in a day. This is a change that is continuing continuously happening from so many years. For example, we can see the British architects, the designers, the British architects designed the Mughal Delhi again. We will learn in later chapters that how they designed Delhi again. Delhi was named as Lutyens Delhi. Lutyens Delhi because the name of the architect was Lutyens. We can see a mixture of Indian and European styles in the architecture of Delhi. Earlier, what we have seen during the medieval period, we have seen that mixture of architecture, Indo-Islamic architecture. We have seen that Islamic. We have adopted Islamic features in our architecture, like that only. During the colonial period, European style was mixed with the Indian style of architecture. In the field of literature also, now Indian writers started writing in English language. That means we were aware about the new languages. We started awareing about the new languages also. So that also, literature also started changing. Now the next is social changes. How India changed socially. The arrival of the Britishers also changed the society of the Indian subcontinent. That means the people of the Indian subcontinent also changed. The living style, our society also changed. Among these changes, some changes were positive also. Means so there were some changes, the Britishers made some changes that were positive for ourselves also, as they brought modern ideas with them. Some of the important changes were around the issues of caste system, social evils, tribal societies, and treatment of women. Means where the India was lacking, we were depending on the traditional system only, where the India was lacking. So they bring some positive ideas and they change us positively also. Like issues of caste system were solved by them, social evils like sati pratha, child marriage was also stopped by them, tribal societies were also improved. They were also, means they encouraged them to mix with the mainstream society. Many social reformers also belong to India only, like Ram Mohan Roy, Dayanand Saraswati, also favored some of the significant legislations of the British government. Some of the significant means important. The our social reformers also saw that the changes that are positively affecting us, that are good for the development of a country, they accepted those changes and they aware the people of India also to accept those changes, like abolition of sati pratha and all that. Now tribal societies witnessed dramatic changes during this period. We have learned about the tribal societies also, that they were totally isolated from the mainstream society. Now here the reformers tried to integrate them into the mainstream society. Like here we will see that if the here we will see that how tribals came to the mainstream society. The Britishers also changed the educational system. The most important social change was the change in the educational system, as they need a large number of people who could run different levels of administration. For ruling in India, they cannot bring all the manpower from Britain only. So it is important for them to add or to administer or to recruit some of the Indian members also in their administration. For recruiting Indian people to the administration, it is important that the Indian people should be educated according to them only. So that is why they promoted education of English and the medium of instruction, that is also English in India, so that the people could understand their language and it will be easier for them to rule on us. It led to the birth of the English educated middle class of India. Now, some people also started taking interest in the new medium of or the new system of education. So many middle class people, it benefited or it gave birth to the English educated middle class of India only. This new system of education produced bureaucrats and administrators at the service of the British rule. Now, as the Indians also started getting English education or the new education, the education that is depend upon modern ideas, they also started working in the administration, and they also started as a bureaucrats, like as a civil servants for the British rulers. It also gave birth to some of the outstanding leaders of the Indian national movement. As we started getting new education or the English education, we came to know about the new ideas that education only inculcate the feeling of freedom, independency, nationalism, patriotism in the people of India, and by that only we started awareing ourselves that we also want our India to be independent. Many Indian leaders, among them Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru, and many other are there. Those who literate by the this system of education only, and that help us to gain our freedom. Now, next one more part will come. In that, I will explain you about the modern sources of modern history, and one more topic is there, I think, Indian colony and perspective of the Britishers. We will see that how Britishers were looking India before the pre-British period, we can see. Thank you, students.